A military helicopter flies through the night near a classified operational zone. Suddenly, glowing orange objects approach within 10 feet of the aircraft. Witnesses describe the objects splitting apart mid-air before dozens more appear across the sky. That account was not leaked online or pulled from conspiracy forums. It was released today through official Pentagon disclosure files. In early May of 2026, the Pentagon opened a new public archive dedicated to unidentified anomalous phenomena. The first release attracted enormous attention, but today's second disclosure wave pushed the conversation even further. This latest tranche added dozens of videos, witness statements, military reports, and historical investigation files spanning nearly 80 years. And once again, some details stood out far more than officials likely intended. According to the Department of Defense, the second release included more than 200 files connected to unexplained aerial activity. Officials described the effort as part of a broader transparency initiative involving AARO, NASA, the FBI, the Department of Energy, and intelligence agencies. The files were uploaded to the government's new Pursue archive, where additional releases are already expected in the coming months. One of the oldest collections in the release focused on reports from New Mexico between 1948 and 1950. Buried inside a 116-page document were 209 sightings involving glowing green orbs, metallic discs, and luminous fireballs observed near sensitive military operations. Some reports described objects maneuvering silently over restricted areas before vanishing at extreme speed. What immediately caught researchers' attention was the consistency of those descriptions. Different witnesses, separated by months and sometimes years, repeatedly described nearly identical objects. Several incidents involved green lights hovering motionless before accelerating vertically without visible propulsion. Others described silent discs changing direction in ways that appeared incompatible with conventional aircraft of the late 1940s. The release then shifted forward through the Cold War years, including documents tied to military radar operators and aviation personnel. Some reports referenced objects appearing briefly over strategic facilities before disappearing from radar simultaneously, with visual confirmation from ground observers. Although many pages remained partially redacted, the pattern suggested long-standing concern within defense circles surrounding repeated incursions near sensitive infrastructure. Among the more unusual additions were references connected to Soviet-era intelligence monitoring. One report discussed investigations into luminous aerial objects tracked by both Western and Soviet systems during periods of heightened military tension. The files did not confirm origin, but several analysts noted the repeated appearance of objects behaving independently of known aircraft performance envelopes from either superpower. The modern incidents included in today's release were even more difficult to dismiss. One infrared military recording captured in the Middle East during 2019 appeared to show 3 unidentified objects flying in precise formation above the Persian Gulf. Pentagon analysts acknowledged the footage originated from a U.S. military platform operating within Central Command territory, though no official explanation was provided. Another file described aerial encounters near Syria, involving bright white orbs observed by military personnel. Witnesses reported the objects moving erratically before accelerating away without visible exhaust or heat signatures, typically associated with conventional propulsion systems. Similar reports from earlier disclosure batches had already raised questions about whether these objects represented unknown technology operating inside heavily monitored military zones. Perhaps the most unsettling testimony involved a senior intelligence official investigating unusual activity near a remote military location in late 2025. According to the newly released account, the official's helicopter encountered glowing orange objects approaching within approximately 10 feet of the aircraft, before suddenly dividing into smaller forms and rapidly departing. The witness described the objects as oval-shaped with orange outer illumination and intensely bright white or yellow centers, radiating light in every direction. Moments later, dozens of similar objects reportedly filled the surrounding sky. 4 briefly arranged themselves into a distinct T formation near the helicopter before disappearing entirely. The reports stated the crew was left virtually speechless. Military aircraft were reportedly scrambled during that same event. According to the released documentation, pilots attempting interception claimed the glowing objects appeared capable of matching or shadowing the fighter jets during pursuit. No successful identification was recorded. The Pentagon included the testimony in full, despite acknowledging no definitive explanation for the incident currently exists. Another widely discussed video reportedly showed multiple spherical objects entering and exiting the water near a submarine during a 2022 incident. Few technical details accompanied the footage, but researchers immediately focused on the apparent transition between air and water without visible loss of speed. Similar claims involving so-called transmedium movement have appeared repeatedly in modern UAP investigations. The release also revisited older NASA material connected to the Apollo era. Audio transcripts and astronaut observations referenced unusual lights and drifting objects seen during portions of lunar missions. Officials stressed that no extraterrestrial interpretation had been confirmed, yet the decision to include those records, alongside military UAP cases, immediately intensified public speculation surrounding what astronauts may have witnessed decades earlier. Critics quickly pushed back. Skeptics argued that many of the files lacked metadata, full sensor information, or investigative conclusions necessary for scientific verification. Some researchers also noted that portions of the archive contained material already known within UFO research communities. Even so, the scale of official acknowledgments surrounding unexplained encounters remained historically significant. Pentagon officials continued emphasizing that the government has found no confirmed evidence linking these phenomena to extraterrestrial life. Yet the wording of the releases remained careful. Again and again, the files referred to incidents as unresolved, unidentified, or lacking sufficient data for explanation. For many observers, that distinction mattered far more than outright denial. One detail repeatedly mentioned throughout the documents was the apparent concentration of sightings around military assets, nuclear facilities, strategic infrastructure, and active operational zones. Researchers inside the disclosure community have pointed to that pattern for decades. Today's files did not prove intent, but they reinforce the idea that these encounters are not occurring randomly across the landscape. As the second disclosure wave spread online today, millions immediately began dissecting individual frames, testimony excerpts, and radar summaries. Some focused on the glowing orbs, others concentrated on the historical Sandia incidents or the reports involving transmedium movement. What unified nearly all reactions was the growing sense that governments are finally acknowledging how much remains unexplained. Tonight's disclosure files did not provide a final answer, but they did reveal something difficult to ignore. Across decades, military personnel, intelligence officials, pilots, and radar operators continued reporting remarkably similar encounters involving objects that still resist explanation. For many watchers, the mystery is no longer whether strange encounters occur, but what they ultimately represent. The deeper governments open these archives, the more the unknown begins to feel less distant and more connected to our world than we once believed possible. Somewhere above the noise of everyday life, the unanswered may still be watching quietly from the shadows. Thank you for tuning in to They Are Watching Us. And as always, stay safe out there, and keep your eyes on the skies. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're as into UFOs and all that cool disclosure stuff as I am, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. It really helps me keep the good content coming your way on this super fascinating topic. Seriously, I appreciate it so much. Catch you later.